Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 67 today for the Bahrain Grand Prix in Season 4. If you guys missed the opening episode of this brand new season uploaded yesterday, then be sure to go check that one out, as well as the pre-season video uploaded the day before that, because this is a very different season. If you didn't know, we've come into this season bankrupt as a team with some very poor aerodynamics, and indeed at the moment, all our facilities when it comes to the car are shut down. The only facilities we have open at the moment are the personnel and the marketing to try and boost our new teammate Pierre Gasly and also try and get our acclaim level as high as possible. And to be fair, last episode, the opening round, we did very well, already up to acclaim level 4, so that's a big boost. Of course, myself and Gasly, we've got quite, high individual acclaim level, so that's going to help us quite a lot to try and get up the order as quick as we can. And last episode, in terms of results, maybe wasn't amazing. We didn't get any points. We didn't score any points, so we're still on 0 for this season. But at least now we know where we stand. We know that the car definitely has a lot of issues in terms of the aero, the amount of drag it actually has on the car as well, I felt. It's not just pure downforce. I think we kind of saw at Australia, there were actually times in a straight line where I was actually struggling because having to compromise by having higher wings in this setup has basically added to the drag that I had on the car, which also was an issue with, obviously having the aerodynamics reset on the R&D tree. So we have kind of two areas to kind of improve upon, which is the drag and also the downforce, which is ironic because we've got a lot of engine power, but there's actually just that much drag. Speaking about, though, those closed HQ facilities on the car side of things, we now have just a little bit of cash, just over $500,000 to potentially open the HQ facility for aerodynamics. We're going to keep the other ones shut. We technically don't need to work on them because we're not really looking to bring any upgrades on those departments until probably the end of the season, if that really, because that's how far behind we are on aerodynamics. Like, we're even way behind the next car, which is Williams, so we have a lot of work to do. So we're going to open up that facility. Obviously, no cash to upgrade the HQ itself, but we don't need to. We're focused on the actual R&D itself, so it's all about the R&D points, and we're going to go ahead and purchase the 2 minor upgrades at the start of the tree on that second layer, the front and rear downforce, to bring some nice balance to the car. And due to now the slightly different and shortened calendar for this season, if you didn't know, if you didn't watch episode 1, 16 races now in this season, we can actually purchase these 2 upgrades and they'll come in for the next race we're going to, which is now Zandvoort, the Dutch GP. You can see on the chart on the right hand side, even with those 2 minor upgrades coming in, we're still going to be behind Williams on the aero side, so that's how far behind we are. I feel like last season, in the middle of the season, if we had 2 upgrades come to the car in one race weekend, it'd be a really positive step forward, and we're looking to overtake cars near us and around us, but we're so far behind that 2 upgrades like that in one go won't even make much of a dent when it comes to our previous rivals of, Ferrari and Red Bull of last season. They're way ahead. We're just looking at teams like Williams and Alfa Romeo to try and catch up aero-wise and drag-wise. And with that, though, we're already seeing some improvements. As I said earlier, due to myself and Gasly's individual acclaim, the team acclaim has been jumped up to level 4 already, so we can sign our first new sponsor. So this takes me way back to the very start of Season 1, where we signed DSP Optics, and honestly, we're going to have to sign them again because in-game, they're the best sponsors, really, in terms of where we're at, in terms of just trying to score points to get some bonus money there. And the thing is, even though we've already opened up the Aerodynamics HQ, which seems maybe early on, but it doesn't actually cost that much in the grand scheme of things to run an HQ every single week, about 200k. The thing is, we need to try and rapidly get cash just to re-sign Gasly halfway through this season, and then also just to actually keep on improving the team in the future, of course, because even once we catch up and we're kind of back to where we kind of need to be, the other teams, they would have spent all this time whilst we're catching up, they would have spent that time getting further ahead. So we need to try and get back to a point where we're earning loads of money every single race. But right now, as it stands, we're only earning $500,000 a race, which is nothing really in terms of a comparison to, last season. I felt like we're earning about at least $2 million every single race, which is a big drop in income, of course, this season. But such is the circumstance we find ourselves in. But we go into Bahrain then, and we're in the same kind of state we were at Australia. Obviously, no upgrades have come from Australia to now, so the car is going to be the exact same. And Bahrain, I don't know, in some aspects it could be a better race for us because it's a power circuit, so the engine power we've got and the lightweight chassis we have should have some sort of advantage, but at the same time, Bahrain does have a few high-speed corners which you need to have plenty of aero for, and like I just said, we've had to do this compromising game where I ran, 8 wings at Australia. Gonna have to do the same here at Bahrain, but in turn, that's gonna make my car very draggy in a straight line, and will basically just defeat the entire advantage we have on the engine side and the chassis side. So it's definitely a frustrating kind of area to be in, really, at the moment, but it will get better. I know it will, but we just need to struggle through these races and make the most of it. And to be fair, with some chaos on Australia, which there was, we got close to points, we were just outside it, so you never know. Bahrain, if you cast your minds back all the way to episode number 2 of this career mode, our second race only in the My Team career, when we first came to this track on this game, there was a lot of chaos then, and back then, we almost got our very first points in F1 in that race. So it is a place that can spice it up with a strategy that's different potentially. We could spice it up. But first and foremost, before we talk about strategy for the race, we have to try and see how we do on the Saturday. And as I've been talking about all that, we're trying our best to get through into Q2. And as you may have noticed there, I had to do 3 different runs just to get myself in through to Q2. So we're up in P14 there. Gasly, for some, I don't know how he did it, but he set a lap time up into P6 in that session. So I don't know what went on there. I was absolutely baffled and bemused by that. But yeah, we had to use all 3 sets of soft tyres. So we made it through into the second part of qualifying, which is a positive step forward from last weekend where we got knocked out. But I've used all my tyres. So I go into Q2 now having to use a worn set of soft tyres. So we're on a worn set. It's not going to be too great. I can already feel the kind of lack of grip because the tyre wear is already up into about 8% it was once I went out on the outlap there. Bit of a lock-up that was on that left-hander, and I can just already tell it's not going to be a particularly quick lap. So really, all this is just a bit of show, really, just to, maybe see what we can do. But I know it's not going to be anything competitive, and, we go across the line, P16 there. I attempt to go onto a set of mediums just to see if maybe I can go any better, because you never know, the tyre wear level's going to be that high on the soft tyres that maybe even a set of mediums would have gone quicker. There wasn't. The delta time difference is too big here at Bahrain between the soft compound and the medium, so I'm going like 1.2 seconds slower by the time we get through to the last corner where I give up. So we come in and we're P16, so we made it through into Q2, which was a positive step forward, but it was kind of in vain because we didn't have any tyres to continue on. Gasly, on the other hand, he's done an insane job. P11, just outside the top 10, which, to be honest, with our car, he's qualified in the perfect position because he gets a free choice of tyre tomorrow, which both of us, I think, need, because I want us to hopefully both try an alternative strategy. So for him to be in P11 is literally the perfect place for him for our situation of where the car is. But I do have to laugh a little bit, though, at this situation, and also kind of be a little bit kind of confused about it, that he's P11 there, we're P16, we're 7/10 off him, and it's uncannily a very similar situation to what Ferrari are in this season with Sebastian Vettel v Leclerc. Some of you guys saw a comment last episode in the opening round of this season that, we've done a bit of a Ferrari 2020. I guess it's sort of a similar sort of situation, I guess, where our cars got a lot worse from the last season. But we personally find ourselves in a similar situation to Vettel, where we're in a worse car than we were used to last season. And my, teammate, kind of more junior teammate, I guess, to me, technically, in terms of the experience of being at the top level, he's doing a better job than me, 6/10 ahead. And honestly, that was the max I could get out of the car, or at least on Saturday. Obviously, I know personally I get quicker in the race situations I'm better at versus just out and out one lap pace. But 7/10 off, 5 places off him on the grid, and having to use all the soft tyres just to get through in the second part of qualifying is a little bit worrying. But let's just not panic too much quite yet. We'll see how we do in the race, and then we can go from there. And hopefully, as we go through the season, the qualifying gap closes a bit to Pierre Gasly. But so far, to be fair to him, he's doing a great job. So far, so good as him being a teammate. But let's go onto the grid then and see what we can do. Hopefully, both of us trying a different strategy to try and shake things up.
The stage is set for another enthralling race here in the Kingdom of Bahrain. A Ferrari stronghold in years gone by, but will they be able to add to their record today? There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best at turn 1, of course, and then another soon into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into the tight left-hander of turn 10. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for the race today. Why don't we talk about Ferrari? We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
It doesn't look promising for them so far. And if the new regs have hit them as hard as we think, well, I suspect they may need a few late nights at the factory to get back on track.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, edging out Antonio Giovinazzi, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Norris, Sergio Perez, and Sainz, Ricciardo, Ocon, Hamilton, and Daniel Kvyat, Gasly, Bottas, Alexander Albon, and Matsushita, Stroll, the owner-driver, George Russell, and Kevin Magnussen, Latifi, De Vries, Schumacher, and Jack Aitken. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
So we're here on the grid in P16. Talking about that starting grid, though, the Ferrari's looking a bit stronger this weekend. Red Bull dropping off in pace because, as I said, this is a power circuit, although you do need a good amount of downforce. So good engine power does help you out a lot. And that's why we're seeing, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, AlphaTauri looking very, very good with Verstappen and Perez there. But we saw on the engine chart, they're actually second best, only losing to Mercedes on the engine pace here. So AlphaTauri taking a big boost this weekend, so they might be in the fight, along with McLaren still looking pretty decent. And yeah, mystified a little bit with Red Bull dropping off there. Maybe they'll have a little bit of a race pace. But for us then, speaking about the race, I said I want myself and Gasly to both do an alternative strategy. From what I can see on the race director, I think Gasly is also starting on the mediums like I will doing here. And we're going to be trying this one stop from the mediums to the hard tyres, try and skip out that one extra stop, which I feel like a lot of the top guys will do, because it seems like the AI, when they're quick enough, they seem to want to do the two-stop here around Bahrain. So hopefully the plan is we can try and jump a few people. Maybe they get held up in traffic. I feel like every single Bahrain Grand Prix we've done on this game in my team career mode has been a little bit hectic with the two-stop versus the one-stop. And a lot of the times we've seen a few of the one-stopper guys actually make some huge gains up the grid. But basically this time around, we're going to be hoping to be one of those people that can make the gains with one less stop. But here we are then on the grid, down in P16 for round number 2 of Season 4 here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Can we get points today? Let's find out as the lights are out and we're underway. And it's a great start compared to the two cars ahead of us of Racing Point and Renault there. Matsushita, Stroll, Albon all bogging down into turn 1. We find ourselves right behind Gasly and Bottas as the Racing Point car comes back down the inside, and we're going to try and re-overtake him. Albon, that was. Bit of a kerfuffle up ahead, and there's a huge amount of traffic. These guys have all slowed down behind Sainz, who I think has an issue maybe, and we find ourselves now on the outside of Bottas. We go for the big lunge. We're now 3 wide with Kvyat and Hamilton. Use the ERS boost. Come through. It's 3 wide. Oh, there's a bit of contact there as Kvyat is awkwardly pinched. And there's more contact. And the two Mercedes cars have crashed together. And the full core safety car is out on the opening lap of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Chaos has indeed ensued at Bahrain, and this, it's just such an awkward pinch there. I feel sorry for Kvyat, to be honest there, because that's just a very awkward pinch from myself and Hamilton. The natural racing line takes you a little bit right. Hamilton was coming left and kind of coming towards me, and then both of us just didn't see Kvyat. Really, bit of a racing incident, bit of a sandwich situation. Here's Gasly then. We overtook him. He was side by side with the Racing Point car, but he got a good view of what went on. The pinch there, and then Hamilton, look at that. Hamilton, with a tyre off, came veering back on circuit and took out his own teammate. So the two Mercedes have collided and taken both of themselves out, and that's why the safety car is out, because they're on the racing line. That has to be removed. But amongst all that chaos was actually a very, very decent start for both me and Gasly, even though he got caught up a little bit, nearly T-boning that Renault. He's gained places, and we're up into, I think it was P8, or P9, and Gasly 2 positions behind me. So very good start from P16. You know, we're up into P10 anyway, irrespective of the crash and whatnot before we went 3 wide with Kvyat. So really good getaway off the private lights and then into turn 1 and turn 2, where I think it was Sainz that kind of got bogged down and kind of slowed 3 cars behind him into me, because you would have seen off the exit of turn 2, we just gained so much time on the next 5 cars ahead of us. But 2 cars that didn't come into any of that chaos were the 2 Ferraris. They still lead the way then under this safety car. Leclerc from Giovinazzi. 3rd place is still Max Verstappen off that great qualifying. But you can see, look at that left-hand side of that front wing there from our view of the camera point. He's got some damage on that end plate, so he's going to come in probably. So Verstappen also got held up or caught up in some of that chaos. Maybe he tried his own lunge on the Ferraris and we just didn't see it, but he's got damage. So Norris will be elevated to P3 and everyone will gain 1 free position. This will be as he'll have to come with that damage so early on into the Grand Prix. So it's such a shame for him after such a good qualifying position for his new AlphaTauri team, of course, this season after leaving us at the end of last year. But we're now on the restart. Lap number 4. We go green again. We're in P8, Gasly P10. So both of us, as it stands, in the points paying positions. And we look to lunge to the inside of Ocon as there's a bit of a domino effect there ahead of us into turn 1. Everyone bunching up, and so we kind of catch Ocon napping slightly. Bit of contact made with his front wings. He tries to stick his nose in, but we maintain the position and keep the overtake, and so we're up into P7. So honestly, this is, I didn't expect to be here at this point in the race. Lap number 4, that was a really great lap 1 for me. But also Gasly, like I said, he's in P10, and if he can try and work some magic, he could get up into P9 or P8 as well. So this would be a great start, a great race. Obviously, I don't know how long we can keep this up for, but we'll try our best. Right now, it's about settling down and trying to stretch these mediums as long as we can. But Ocon, what on earth have you just done, man? Esteban Ocon has just hit us into the left-hander, and we're now down to P11. We had a tangle with Ocon last season where he hit us at the Belgium Grand Prix, if you remember, and it all kicked off a little bit there. And now we find ourselves down the order fighting now Stroll in the Racing Point car, trying to keep our P11 here. But Ocon, what on earth was that? That was just a simple drive into me and tried to take me out, or just misjudged, drive into me and just hit me off. So great stuff there. He's got some damage, so I don't know if the FI are going to give him a penalty or whatnot. If he doesn't, the damage alone will be penalty enough, I feel. So in a way, there's some justice and karma being served. But look at this on board here. That's so weird. I've never seen AI misjudge a breakpoint that much. Like, he fully accelerates as I'm braking, and like turns slightly right into that left-hander to hit my rear end there. Very, very odd stuff there from Ocon, and so he's had to pit, and so we've gained 1 free position back to P10 then, but we're still looking to try and gain some positions to get back up into what was P8. Right now trying to look at Magnussen then for just P9. This will be on the outside, can't quite do it. You can see literally that just shows how little downforce we have as a team. Usually I could hang that around the outside easily. I had to actually wait till the next corner to actually finish that move on Magnussen, because I literally couldn't get the car rotated round and stuck on the outside enough on that initial right hand at the end of Sector 1. So, yeah, there are signs of how bad the car is, but it's kind of masked by how good we are on the straights and, certain aspects of the racing, obviously, with all the chaos and whatnot. But now, a little bit later then into this stint, and of course, those soft tyre runners, they'll be coming a little bit earlier than us on medium tyres. Those soft tyres don't go too long here at Bahrain, even with the tyre upgrades, they don't go massively long, and Leclerc has chosen to come in early along with Norris. You've got the likes of Perez, and I think that's Ricciardo sticking out, as well as Giovinazzi then. Sainz also in, so you've got a bit of split strategy between teammates going a little bit longer, and it's obviously usually the kind of second driver that takes the hit there in terms of Giovinazzi, at least in the Ferrari team. For us then, we still look on, we're closing up on Gasly, who in turn is looking a little bit punchy and might close up to Albon, but in turn as well, because he's closed up to Albon so much, he's actually getting held up by the Thai Brit in the Racing Point car. So can we try and overtake Gasly and then have a look at the Racing Point car ourselves on lap number 8 as Verstappen is out of this Grand Prix? The chaos just continues, and he's parked at turn 1 and Leclerc's held up. That was Leclerc slowed up at turn 1. I think the McLaren car as well of Lando Norris was also held up. We've got a virtual safety car out, and this is why then. So it's all kicking off. That was really unfortunate timing. I was about to overtake Gasly as the virtual safety car came out, but a lovely 3-wide moment there for Verstappen. Overtakes those 2 cars, obviously recovering from the early pit stop he had to make, but oh, what the? That is a very sensitive front right tyre. And oh my god. And then Lando Norris comes and crashes into Leclerc. And Leclerc's been held up massively there. So that's the race leader, remember. He's been held up by a fair few seconds, but that's very, very sensitive for a front right tire. We got simulation damage on this My Team career mode, if you didn't know, but I didn't know the simulation damage was quite that sensitive. I guess the angle was just perfectly timed, I guess, on that front right tire. But Verstappen now, 2 races. What a horrendous start to his season with AlphaTauri. 2 races, 2 DNFs. Obviously, last time out was a mechanical fault, and this one wasn't really his fault either. But that's such a shame. But that's also a massive thing now for the race leader, remember, because Leclerc got held up there for at least a good 10 seconds. Lando Norris broke his front wing on the back end of Leclerc. So this man, Giovinazzi, is looking very good because we're under virtual safety car now. I believe it should end before he gets to the pit stops. But still, he's going to make the pit stop and he'll come out in, well, acres of clean air because his teammate, the only man who was ahead of him and anywhere near him, is so far behind now. And also the likes of, that was Perez, the other AlphaTauri, and Ricciardo, who stayed out and are right now under this virtual safety car ahead of us. They're also going to gain a lot of time here. So the entire kind of top end for the podium has just been shaken up massively. And also, as the virtual safety car ends here, we're looking to maybe try and overtake Gasly. We could also gain here because remember, the likes of Leclerc and Lando Norris, they both were probably going to do an extra stop on us anyway, let alone losing this, 10, 15 seconds being held up at turn 1. And, even Norris is even worse. He's got to change his front wing again, whereas Leclerc's just been held up here. So this might get very, very interesting right now. So let's not count our chickens too early, but this could be turning into a pretty damn amazing and crazy race that we're kind of wishing for. But right now, trying to see if we can overtake Pierre Gasly on lap number 9, looking for a lunge to the inside, but can't quite get it, under braking a little bit too far back there. So right now, Gasly remains ahead in what is now P2, with Albon up in first place, as those other remaining soft tire runners make their first stop of the Grand Prix on lap number 9, to be fair. So the soft tires actually, to be honest, have got a lot longer than I thought they would. 9 laps for Giovinazzi, that's pretty damn decent. Obviously, there was a safety car involved in it, but still, that's pretty decent, I would say, knowing the tire wear levels here at Bahrain. But for us with the medium tires, we're going a lot longer than 9 laps, looking to maybe pit around lap 15, but at the moment, lap 11, looking to try and dance away around the outside of Gasly at turn 1, as he's held up by Albon with quite a strong, robust defense there, and a lock-up from Gasly just allowed me to just sail around the outside there. And to be honest, it was always coming, because we've looked a little bit quicker now, ever since the restart here from that virtual safety car, and we're on the back of Albon now as we get towards lap number 12, and can we try and size up a move into turn 1, like I said, due to the kind of compromising nature of the setup, to give us some more downforce in the corners. It means our car's not actually as fast as I want it to be, and it actually is technically should be with the engine power, but we can still make a good dive to the inside. We've got good brakes from the chassis upgrades we made last season that are still on the car, remember, so still got a bit of that fighting, pouncing kind of, prowess that we showed a lot of the time last season. That's showing also because Gasly is able to try and make a move on the outside. Go on, this could be a 1-2 on track right now as it stands, because of course I know obviously we're yet to pit for our very first pit stop, but as it stands right now, we've got an aarava Archer Racing 1-2 with myself and Gasly there. Definitely not something I thought would have been happening anytime soon, let alone, not yet pitting this Grand Prix. I thought, honestly, a lot of these races, the top guys would have so much pace that even if they made one extra stop, they'd always be constantly ahead of us. But this Bahrain Grand Prix has been so chaotic. 1 safety car, 1 virtual one, 2 Mercedes out, big hitter of Verstappen and a very quick AlphaTauri out of this Grand Prix, and then you've also got Leclerc, Norris, Sainz caught up in incidents with that Verstappen crash, and we're only about a third of the way through this entire Grand Prix, so it's a bit mad. But one man in a top car that's keeping calm and just doing his thing is this man, the Italian Antonio Giovinazzi, in the other Ferrari car. To the inside he goes and he overtakes Albon up into P3 now on the road, and you would say he is going to come and overtake myself and Gasly pretty quickly, because that Ferrari obviously has the pace for a front row lockout here in qualifying. So yeah, within 1 lap pretty much there is he, Giovinazzi now right at the back of Gasly, going to make the move into the last corner actually there, as he's so quick on this straight, doesn't even need the DRS straight, coming up on the main one to the inside through the last corner up into P2, and sooner rather than later he's going to overtake us, I think. But Gasly comes in, so he uses that overtake basically as a yardstick to, yeah, these tyres are gone, he comes in, and so Gasly will go onto a set of hard tyres. But you know what, this is a point of the Grand Prix where my mind started to think a little bit about the strategy. Now, first and foremost, let's just deal with Giovinazzi here. He's going to overtake us very easily, even though we're deploying ERS. He just breezes past us, such as the amount of drag we've got on the car these days, and the lack of acceleration there. And also, plus, obviously, he's on new tyres. He's on new soft tyres as well, so he's going very aggressive. And to that effect, actually, he'll be pitting in from that set of tyres very soon, because lap 17, 2 laps later, he's in. He's already made his second pit stop then, so Giovinazzi's back down to P4 now, having made his second and final stop of the afternoon. Ricciardo overtakes us with a very punchy overtake. I kept it calm, but he just went in there all guns blazing. But he's up into P1 now on the road. We're down to P2, but we're going on for another lap. Lap 18. This is 3 laps later than my pit stop window opened for the hard tyres, because I started to think about the strategy, and, you know, thinking back to that first stint, those guys took softs for 9 laps, albeit with 2 laps under safety car. But maybe it's worth the gamble here of trying the soft tyres. Maybe on low fuel, we've got tyre upgrades that, remember, we only got at the halfway through last season. So we've not come to Bahrain with this level of tyre upgrades before. So why don't we just try the gamble? You know, Gasly up there in the top left, he's P5. So we were ahead of him before the pit stops. So the worst case scenario is we're going to come out just behind him maybe, because these medium tyres are wearing out quite a fair bit. And also, you know, we're going to have a little bit of tyre wear at the end of this Grand Prix. But we may as well try something different. Just something. Because this car is so bad in the corners. We're so far off the pace under normal circumstances that we just need to try something different. Just for the sake of seeing if something sticks here, basically. Because otherwise we'll just be here getting, you know, no points like we did last race. So let's try something. It's been a crazy race so far. Let's keep the crazy going and try something different. So we're going to come in and follow Ricciardo in on lap 18. You can see the tyres there on the bottom right. Very, very worn. But we've now only got, what's that, 9 laps left in this Grand, or 10 laps left in this Grand Prix left. So that should be just enough to get us to the end on soft tyres. We're going to maybe have quite a fair bit of tyre right at the end of this thing, so it's a bit of a gamble. We may lose some time and maybe a position at the end of the race, but let's just see what we can do on fresh soft tyres, because no one else has had fresh softs this entire race. All these top runners, all their soft tyres were all used ones from qualifying, whereas because we didn't make it through into Q3, we've got that extra set available to us. So let's go out there and see what we do. So we come out, and we are behind Gasly, to be fair to us, but Ricciardo also comes out behind Gasly. But from here, we can only go forwards. At this moment in time, of course, yes, at the end of the Grand Prix, we might go backwards, but for the first few laps here, we're going to have some decent pace, and we've come out in P4. Gasly's P2 right now. Like, I don't want to jinx it, but no matter what the tyre levels are saying, I think me and Gasly are on for a very, very tasty result here. And I feel like it's kind of come out of nowhere a little bit, because although it has been a very action-packed Grand Prix, for us personally, we haven't actually faced that much chaos apart from lap 1. After that, we've had a pretty calm race where we've just done our thing with the one stop, because all of these guys, you know, Leclerc, well, Verstappen being out, Leclerc, Norris being held up and crashing at turn 1, even, you know, the other guys, you know, just basically getting caught up with each other and tangled over each other. It's amplified the effect of our one-stop strategy, because we would have jumped a few of these guys anyway and had this track position ahead of them by just doing one less stop. But I think we would have been looking around, you know, P6 to 8 rather than 2 to 4. But because of all that chaos, we are looking at 2 to 4. Gasly right now is in P2, we are P4, and I don't know. I mean, let's just see how it goes. We've got 9 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and let's just try and aim for the stars, basically, and hopefully get some points at the end of this thing. But as I say that, though, aiming for the stars, we've got, obviously, the other cars around us that are quicker, looking to try and make amends for what a messy race it's been so far. And so, to that effect, Ricciardo comes through into P2 then on a set of fresher medium tyres, of course. Gasly has been on those hards since lap 16, so they're a little bit worn out already, but not too bad. But obviously, just the difference in the compound is going to make the difference for Ricciardo and myself, because we come through on at the end of lap 22 green sectors there, getting held up a little bit by Gasly, to be honest, through that right-hander, and you can kind of tell that his AI is definitely running the default setup a little bit less front wing and rear wing than I am, because he's got a bit more straight line speed. But in the corner on the exit, very quick there, a little bit of a wobble though, we make some contact with him, didn't mean to do that, but DRS open now, deploying all the ERS we can to the line before it resets. And also rich mix as well, as we're negative fuel. We're up into P3 now of the Bahrain Grand Prix. This is outstanding at the moment. We've only got 8 laps left as well. Like, could we do this as Giovinazzi? Oh my word! No, you can't write this stuff. This is insane. Antonio Giovinazzi's been leading this race for most of it, ever since that kerfuffle with his teammate Leclerc, but now his car has gone up in smokes, and that's such a shame for the Italian. He's deserved to win this race. He's looked so good since he got the lead, dominating this one, cut through the field like a hot knife through butter earlier on in the race, but he is now out, and that's caused a second safety car. So this race really has been a stonking one. So much action, so much chaos. 2 safety cars, 1 virtual. Verstappen now, Giovinazzi out, Hamilton, Bottas, all out of this Grand Prix. Leclerc pushed down the order, Norris with the front wing damage, Ocon with front wing damage from earlier when he hit me. It really has had everything. And literally everything, because myself and Gasly, our team, we've had a blinder. Our one-stop strategy would have been clever anyway, but because with all this chaos, like I said just earlier, it's been amplified, and we're sat here in P2 and P3 with a double podium right now on the cards. I will say though, this safety car, it's exciting, but I actually technically would have, to be honest, preferred it not to be in a safety car. I would have preferred it just to continue on, because we had a few seconds gap to the cars behind us, so Perez, Albon, maybe the other guys, you know, like Sainz and Leclerc, who are actually in the points now. They're, I think, running P7 and 8. Sainz and Leclerc respectively, but now obviously with the safety car that gets all neutralized and we're all bunched up here, so although we are P2 and 3, it now means that Perez has that much less to do to maybe jump on us and try and take this position away from us. But of course the one caveat is to that as well. We've got 2 laps here on the safety car, which is going to help us out, because remember, we would have faced a lot of tyre wear, but now we've got 2 laps on the safety car, the same way that the Giovinazzi had 2 laps on the safety car at the start of this Grand Prix, and he went 9 laps easy on that soft compound tyre. So it's kind of, you know, it's kind of a two-edged sword here. You know, we bunched up, which is unfortunate, but this does help us out a lot personally with the soft tyres. And to be honest, if we play it right, we could actually attack Ricciardo a little bit and, dare I say, try and fight him for the race lead, albeit maybe futilely. Let's see. Because we're here now at the end of lap 23, on to 24. The safety car is coming in. The tyres are a little bit cold in the front, but the rears are pretty warm. And we're ready to go, limbering up, trying to set ourselves up on the right-hand side of Ricciardo, just waiting for when he jumps. He gets to decide when we go, and there we are. Green flags, and we're racing again, and immediately deploying ERS. Rich mix. We've got a lot of fuel now to burn. And you know what? Let's have some fun. Let's go for it. We're going to dive around the outside and see if we can even get into the lead of this Grand Prix for even just a corner or two. As we go to the inside, we're side by side, neck and neck through turn 2 and 3. It's actually a great little battle there with Ricciardo. In the end, though, you can see he's got that extra acceleration and just basically grip mid-corner, every corner. But we tried it, but I don't think it's going to work out. But we're still in P2. Gasly has remained in P3 for now. Perez, though, like I said, the AlphaTauri is obviously qualified, what was it, P3 and 5 on the grid. So make no mistake, they're a quick car. They're one of the cars I suspect will cut their way through and be trying to spoil the party. And to that effect, here we are then, literally the next lap, and Perez is down the inside on Gasly and gets up into P3. Gasly tries to fight him, fair play, but just unable to do it. But to be fair, from now on, the cars behind Gasly, he could keep at bay, because it's the Racing Point car that's also doing the one stop with us. You've also got the other Racing Point, and then also you've just got a kind of checkerboard of the Renaults. You've got Sainz and Leclerc trying to recover, and also Ocon as well, and also Lando Norris as well. To be fair, he's done quite a good job to say he actually broke his front wing on Leclerc early in the race. He finds himself ahead of Sainz and ahead of Leclerc, but all those guys, they're going to try their best to cut through, but we've seen it time and time again on this game. You know, when there's that much traffic, sometimes you just get stuck in a DRS train. And so Gasly probably has a good chance of maintaining that P4. And at the moment, at 27, we are looking good to keep P2 here. We're not catching Ricciardo by any means, but we're keeping within that 1 second window with DRS. We actually gain on Ricciardo in Sector 1, and then we lose the time we gain in Sectors 2 and 3 already, because obviously Sector 1's mostly just kind of straights there. So we're doing a very good job now until the last lap of the Grand Prix. Still P2, 2 seconds the gap to Perez. Now the tyre wear does start to kick in a little bit with a lock-up in the front right tyre. We gain a bit more time again, as you can see visually on Ricciardo, but we're going to lose a lot of time in Sector 2 and 3, but we've done enough work in those laps, essentially, to lose that time in Sector 2 with a red second sector, and it's too late now. Perez can't get us. And this is going to be it. Daniel Ricciardo comes through to win a very hectic Bahrain Grand Prix. But we, more importantly, come through somehow. I don't know how we've done it, but we come through for a bloody podium in P2 at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Gasly P4. How have we done this? We have just finessed the entire F1 grid in such a donkey of a car to get 2 and 4 in the second race of this season. What a race!
A fantastic team effort then to secure victory here in the desert. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team.
So there we have it. I did not think I was going to see either me or Gasly in a cutscene on the podium for a long while in this season, but what a mental race. I mean, let's recap. 2 safety cars, virtual safety car, Bottas out, Hamilton out, Leclerc got held up by Verstappen going out of the Grand Prix. Lando Norris broke his entire front wing on Leclerc's rear end in the same turn 1. Ocon hit us off circuit and broke his front wing. We had Giovinazzi leading most of this race, then he went out of the Grand Prix with an engine failure. And then both of us, me and Gasly, with a inspired 1 stop, which would have worked well anyway, but was amplified because of all this chaos. And we've come away with a podium and a very solid P4 for Gasly as well. You know, if he had tried a bit of a gamble and also went on to soft tyres, he could have been up there, I feel, for a double podium maybe. But to be fair, it's a decent P3 for Perez. But, you know, still, the entire top 10 was also a bit of a madness. You know, the Renault's finished P5 and 6 with Machicito and Kvyat. Ocon somehow recovered to P7. And Lando Norris as well, more impressively, finished ahead of Sainz and Leclerc, even though he broke his front wing, I'm pretty sure, on Leclerc's rear end. So I don't know how he managed that, but he did, so that's a pretty decent effort as well. And it means in the Drivers' Championship, we find ourselves in P5 somehow. And constructors-wise, we find ourselves in P3 now. I know it's very early days. You know, it's round 2 only. We've got so many races to go. And this is definitely a one-off. Like, I think we're going to get reality check next episode for sure. But still, for us to be sitting P3 now, this is a mega boost in terms of morale. Just for the team and for us. Even for you guys, maybe, you know, if some of you guys weren't maybe liking the idea of being so slow. This is maybe a bit of a morale boost in terms of, you know, we've still got a bit of that, you know, magic that we can create sometimes. And I think we're still going to have some fun this season, you know, when we can, you know, make the most of opportunities like this race gave to us. Yeah, what a stunning episode. This is why I still, you know, after 68 episodes, I still love recording and making these episodes, because you get races like this, which are just bonkers, and, you know, a P2 like this feels like an absolute win, knowing how slow this car was, how slow it felt in qualifying, and also especially last episode at Australia. To get a P2 from that last episode, insane. So guys, if you did enjoy that mental one, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.